From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 10, presented by Berger Easy Clean, powered by Reva University, Quick Heal Secrite, Green Lamb Laminates, PolicyBazaar.com, and Cucina, co-powered by Mankind Pharma and New Nexon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's time for the nation's sharpest opinion. As you know, the allegations are explosive. This is the digital media scam. It's just exploding with fresh new facts detailed in the remand the Republic has just accessed. Ladies and gentlemen, as we break the news of how there was a paid global agenda executed against the nation through the digital news media, the larger issue is of paid media. The real questions that people like Paranjoy Guha-Thakurta must answer is what is the position of people like Paranjoy Guha-Thakurta and the others and Prabir Purkayast on the issue of paid media. That also when the payoffs are made by China. Now they say we are not the owners of the website, but you got a lot of money. Therefore you were paid and the payments were from China. You want a line of deniability, saying you're not the owner, but did you not know where the money was coming from or did you not care? Therefore, the issue that the people involved in this digital news media scam must answer is about how, in the pretense of objective news, pretending to put out factual news, pretending to put out independent news, pretending to put out independent information, this is actually a classic case study of paid media. That also foreign and China paid media. These are payoffs, ladies and gentlemen, worth crores. And were the payoffs made to betray the nation, to betray national interest? The latest information, as per the remand, states there was a global agenda being pushed. And we have, first of all, Shravan Sen, who's been joining me right now live to tell us more. He's just accessed some sensational details. And he's with us live this evening. Shravan reporting non-stop on the story, even late in the evening today. Shravan, first of all, paid media versus Bharat. What's the new information you're getting about this investigation and where it's headed?
Well, out of all this while, we knew that there was a Chinese funding. It was paid news. But what was it being used for? That's the details that we are going to break right now. And this is what the Delhi police had to tell the court when they had produced Editor-in-Chief of Newsclick, Prabir Purkayast, and his HR head. This is what they said. I'm quoting from the remand copy. Point number one, the big news really coming in. The first agenda for the money that they were given was to basically show Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh as not part of India. Delhi police says that such attempts by these persons reveal their conspiracy to peddle a narrative both globally and domestically that Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh are disputed territories. That's news point number one. News point number two, which is even more shocking because this is about the general elections of 2019, where the Delhi police says that they have come across evidence that there was a deliberate attempt to peddle fake narrative. They've given full details that it was Prabir Purkayast conspired with a group that is named as People's Alliance for Democracy and Secularism to sabotage the electoral process during the 2019 general elections. And this was being done with the help of a company called People's Dispatch Portal. This company had received direct money from Naval Roy Singham, a close associate of the Communist Party of China. What's important to point out here is the fact that over a period of time, large amount of money was coming in with a single point agenda to basically disrupt law and order situation. In fact, there is also a mention of the farmers' blockade, where they are saying that during the pandemic, there was a false narrative that was propagated to discredit the effort of the Indian government to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. So now it is abundantly clear that the money was just not being sent for no reason. The reason is this: there was a clear agenda and a larger picture that is now emerging of where it was actually used.
Okay, please stay on, Shravan, and I'm opening the debate. We have Sanju and Savio with us, and Akashdeep Muni and Gyanendra Bishra. My first questions are to you. People like Enram, you know Enram of the Hindu, the paper that put out a little bit of information on Rafale, hid the rest, and had to come out with some clarification, the same newspaper. Now, Gyanendra and Akashdeep Muni, people like Enram say, so what if people have taken an pro-China position? He says, let us assume that people have, or something to that effect. Let us assume you have taken a position which is pro-China in any way. Is that a crime? Now the question here becomes more complicated, Gyanendra. Because the question becomes that along with the money, was there an instruction given to you to go against your country's national interest and project Arunachal Pradesh and Kashmir in the Chinese light? And if there is any documentation, any email, any message, anything which comes out here, which can be corroborated, I am sure no Gyanendra, no Akashdeep will support it on television. Or will you go to even to that extent? Saying even so, even if people are paid money, they take money and they are given a line to go against national interest, against the Indian army, it's okay.
No, Arnab, yes, I would like to answer that question. See, first of all, at this point of time, it is just an allegation and a prosecution story. And see from where this allegation has basically emanated. We all know that there was an article in New York Times where it was mentioned, just by way of in 4 lines out of an 18-page report, the 4 lines out of it that it
No, it is not emanated from that. Rather, no, you're wrong. The New York Times story was 3 months after Republic. Hello, have you forgotten that? I mean, you people come on Republic.
Yes,
no, 3.5 months back, we have broken details. When we broke details, no, 1 minute, yaar, 1 minute. 1 minute, 1 minute. You and Enram types. Listen to me.
Please.
All you and the Enram types. Oh, New York Times.
Please.
Why don't you understand? We put out the story more than 3 months back. No, we put out the story 3 months back and New York Times has followed us. No, bol ke fayda nahi hai. So quote me.
Got your point.
Answer my question. If they have taken money and taken instructions on Arunachal and Kashmir, will you defend that? All you Enram types.
No, let me complete my answer. See, you just because you are saying it does not mean that they have taken money, one, and secondly, that they have taken money to push the divisive agenda that you are talking about. You know, if someone is criticizing government, if someone is putting out the objective reporting on the happenings in the country, and then you label those kinds of
media objective में paid नहीं होता ना.
That is a very
objective में paid नहीं होता है. If I put out an advertorial, I make it clear it's an advertorial.
No.
No, rubbish.
No.
No, 1 minute. First of all, I am sure, and I hope Hindu, I am correct about this. I am sure, Mr. Enram. I am asking you a question, Mr. Ram. Listen to me, Mr. Ram, and kindly clarify to me, Mr. Ram. The question goes to you because I don't know if you will have the, keenness to face me in person. But Mr. Ram, just clarify. I am sure the Hindu has never done an advertorial paid by the Chinese government. Have you? If the Chinese government were to pay the Hindu money, would you put out 3 or 4 pages dedicated to Chinese government propaganda? I don't know. I don't read the Hindu. But do you? Does the Hindu do that?
No, but
Is that
may I
okay?
answer your question there?
By that
Now,
logic,
may I
tomorrow
answer
you'll take
that?
money from
You
Pakistan government and produce a
saw one
supplement?
report.
Would you?
You
Would you?
saw-
I want to know.
No, no.
The nation
Arnab,
wants to
please.
know.
You
The
saw-
nation wants
you
to know.
saw-
A
you
question
saw-
being asked.
You saw
Tell
one
me.
report.
Tell me. Would you?
No, you saw.
Would you? Would you
saw
take
one
money?
report
Now question
of
goes.
News Click.
I wouldn't.
Which is
I wouldn't.
pro-China.
I wouldn't take money
which
from the
has
Chinese government. I wouldn't
propagated
take money from the
that
Pakistani
Arunachal
government.
Pradesh and
I wouldn't.
Jammu and Kashmir
Any media
is
that takes
not
money from the Pakistani and
part of
Chinese
the
government
India.
directly is not for the interest of the country.
You are
Come on.
the boss. You are beating
Now
around the
Sanju is
bush.
on the debate.
You first tell one story put on.
I am not beating
by
around any
News
bush. I am
Click,
going direct,
where
direct,
they have
direct.
shown Arunachal
Direct.
Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir not
don't
as a
know.
part of India.
Oh my God! Please, Arnab, can I?
I am just a
One
very
report-
curious man.
One report of News
I am a
Click.
very curious
One
man.
report of
Being
News
curious
Click.
by Janendra, 1 minute.
Oh my
Being
God,
curious
oh my
by
God, doesn't make
disposition.
any sense.
1 minute, yeah. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yes.
1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Being curious. 1 minute, yeah. 1 minute. Wait a minute.
Please.
Being a curious man by disposition, Sanju, I am asking today. I just want to know these big papers that used to be. Nowadays, of course, nobody reads papers. But do these papers, will they take money from China and Pakistan to produce advertorial supplements? Will they? Do they? Have they?
You brushing
Shall
off
they?
everybody
Okay.
else.
Is a question. Answer me.
Arnab.
Mr. Ram, I would love to know. I would love to know, Mr. Ram. Would you? Would you, Mr. Ram? Yes. Now, Sanju.
Okay. Arnab, you know, if you remember a few months back, when the News Click story initially came out and Republic came out with a couple of big exposes, I was there on your show. And I made a very interesting observation that Neville Roy Singham, you know, the Chinese propagandist or the Chinese mouthpiece, what have you, he got married to a lady called Jodi Evans in 2017. Jodi Evans is the chairperson and founder of a supposedly American think tank called Code Pink. And there's a very interesting article by New York Times. I mean, I really don't care for New York Times, but since New York Times till recently has been the darling of the left liberal cabal, let me quote from a piece of the New York Times which you revere. There is an article in August 2023, you know, barely 2 months back, which says that till she got married to Neville Roy Singham in 2017, Jodi Evans was actually an activist who used to openly protest right op-eds against Chinese suppression and Chinese hegemony illegally in different parts of the globe. But once she married Neville Roy Singham, you know, Neville Roy Singham got $275 million within the first 2 to 3 years of marrying Jodi Evans, and suddenly her tune changed after getting that money into Code Pink. And today, both husband and wife share office space with Chinese CCP in various parts of the globe, be it Brazil, be it Africa, be it New York, be it China, be it Singapore, because Neville Roy Singham, while he has a plethora of companies, he basically functions through 3 companies which are Chinese mouthpieces. One is a think tank called Tricontinental, please. Another is a company called Worldwide Media International, and one is a company called ThoughtWorks. And all these 3 companies, Worldwide Media International, Tricontinental and ThoughtWorks, have been funded by the Chinese government to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, point number 1. And Neville Roy Singham has in turn funded Prabir Purkayastha very generously. And I will repeat one thing, Arnab, which nobody has mentioned. We should also talk about DigiPub. You go and read the tweets, or should I say the posts on X put out by DigiPub. The chairperson of DigiPub is a lady we all know very well called Dhamya Rajendran. But do you know who's the vice chairperson of DigiPub? The vice chairperson of DigiPub is Prabir Purkayastha. And if you just look at the history, the quality of tweets put out by DigiPub,
God.
and the kind of, yes, and just let me finish.
Is that true?
If you just look at, yes, that is true. And
What
if you
a
go to
scam.
DigiPub's,
What a
just
scam.
allow me 10 seconds. Just allow me 10
What
seconds.
a scam.
If you go to the DigiPub, if you
No,
go to
no,
the
you
DigiPub,
cannot allow these kind of an
DigiPub
allegation.
portal-
This is
to go
Chinese
about.
entry into a so-called media organization.
Can I please finish? You know, I don't know who's this man who's heckling me. If you go to the DigiPub portal, because I went there before coming to your show, I did some homework. And DigiPub very proudly says that the people who contribute to its editorial columns, what have you, are Paranjoy Guha Thakurta, the late Vinod Dua, the likes of Sakshi Joshi, whose only job is to troll the Modi government, the likes of Rohini Singh, the likes of Ajit Anjum, anyone and everyone from the anti-Modi leftist cabal that you can think of is a contributor to DigiPub, which has Pradeep Purkayastha as its vice chairperson, Dhanya Rajendran as its chairperson, and Dhanya Rajendran's DigiPub is busy supporting NewsClick and Pradeep Purkayastha and condemning the government for throttling free speech. Just look at the tweets put out by DigiPub. I don't need to say much. There is the link.
I don't know much about this, whatever. My question, however, is very specific. You see, I'll tell you. Nowadays, there is a principle, Savio, of mutual coexistence between Gyanendra, listen to my monologue also. There is a system of mutual cooperation, live and let live. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Among the many miracles of modern day India is the fact that Shobha De and Akar Patel are apparently members of the Editors Guild of India. Which publications they edit, I don't know. My second point is, Savio, Gautam Naulaka, who is a shareholder in PPK NewsClick Studio since its inception, is, as we all know, involved in anti-India activity, is supporting banned Maoist terrorist organizations. Then is it outside the realm of possibility that China-funded operations were delivering or ensuring anti-India narratives in return for hard cash? China funds NewsClick, NewsClick gives the money to Naulaka, Naulaka supports Maoist terrorist organizations. Of course, I'll draw a link, Savio. Any reasonable person will draw a link.
Arnab, I'll share a little story with the panelists which happened about 15 days ago. A former journalist of a Chinese organization, the bureau head of that particular organization that was working out of South Asia with India, was in Manipur recently for about 10 days, visiting all communities in Manipur. And they were to make a documentary, a 30 minutes documentary, on the trials of the women in Manipur and the troubles that they went to. The funding for that documentary came from the consultant of the NewsClick, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Guha. And
which one?
The funding was
what?
was done with
one minute. Just as a one minute. You're making a charge. Are you saying that? 1 minute. Can you repeat that? Yes. Would you stand with that? Because I want to repeat that is information that you are privy to. I'm not. What are you saying? Can you say that again? That's a very interesting angle.
Okay. So I'm saying that a former journalist of a China-based organization, a South Asia bureau head, was in Manipur a couple of weeks ago, meeting with all communities over there. The purpose of being in Manipur was to make a documentary that is funded by the gentleman who's a consultant with NewsClick. His name is Mr. Guha. How am I privy to it? Because I was privy to that conversation where...
Are you talking about Poronjoy Guha Thakurta or some other Guha gentleman?
No, Poronjoy Guha. That's what I'm talking about. So when we were in that conversation, it was very clear that there was a bent. You see, when you're making a documentary and you want to put out the truth, because this particular journalist wanted to create a documentary series. And I said, okay, let's listen to what you have. And on the other side was this gentleman by the name of Mr. Guha. And then he took a slant. He took a slant in that conversation saying, Modi is the worst prime minister this country has ever seen. And that's when I questioned back. I said, are you making a documentary or are you making a propaganda? Because if you called me into a discussion...
How were you privy to this conversation?
On your documentary and giving you some information. I was privy to the conversation because I was in Manipur. This person wanted some information and she was wanting to have a conversation of what is the kind of footage that I had and whether I would want to be part of this particular documentary. So knowing this Guha character, I wanted to find out some more and dig some more. And that's when I realized that the intent to make that documentary from the journalist may have been all right, but the slant in Goa and the decision of Goa to have that documentary made with a particular interest of targeting the company or the government, in particular Modi. In fact, if you look at his statement that he made when he came out of jail.
But do you have anything to prove that Mr. Goa at all was involved in the making of any documentary? And what if Mr. Goa says I was? It was a journalistic endeavor. Because, you know, many things pass as journalistic endeavor these days.
I'm not saying it is not a journalistic endeavor. All I'm saying is that the slant was of an individual who does not like the government and does not like Prime Minister Modi. Therefore, I very categorically stated I am not interested in this particular documentary if this gentleman, Mr. Goa, is in it. Simple. If you have footage, I have footage, I will make my own documentary.
Anyway, so you're making
to have anybody
now my only specific question is, as it gets serious, Akashdeep, according to the remand copy I read, the analysis of the emails further shows that Neville Roy Singham, Prabir Purkayastha and Amit Chakrabarti are in direct touch with each other, wherein they are found to be discussing how to create a map of India. Shawan can read the rest. Shawan, can you take it from there, because it's really shocking. That particular part, remand copy, where it talks about the content of the emails, I think you have it with you. You have that part with you, Shawan, because it is going to blow the minds of people when they read about this.
Right.
Do you have that, about the analysis of the emails, wherein they are found to be discussing?
Right, Arnab. In fact, this is the part where they talk about the analysis of the emails. So there is an email conversation that takes place between Neville Roy Singham and Prabir Purkayastha, and they say, and I'm quoting from the remand copy, secret inputs also reveal that Prabir Purkayastha, Neville Roy Singham and some other Chinese employees of Neville Roy Singham owned Shanghai-based company by the name of Starstream have exchanged mails which expose their intent to show Kashmir and Arunachal Pradesh as not part of India. Such attempts by these persons reveal their conspiracy to peddle a narrative both globally and domestically.
And further, I may take it from there from you, Shawan, further, to achieve this objective, the accused persons, in the guise of foreign funds, received more than 115 crore rupees in companies named PPK NewsClick, G-Span India, JJ Enterprises and Virtunet System. Which sane person can support this? Akashdeep, don't support this. Don't support this.
What I'm saying, let me complete.
No court will support this.
Arnabji, there are 2-3 points I want to make. First is that in this particular case, there has been some allegations against the owner of the company, and the journalists in this case were investigated. Investigating journalists is okay, but they should not be harassed because they have no part to play in this. The owners had. If this is true, and second.
Today you have no conviction.
There is
no conviction in your voice.
The remand copy which you are reading are allegations. Now this BJP
Akashdeep, they are taking the money, so they owe an explanation, Akashdeep.
No, don't. Please don't heckle me. Please don't heckle me. Please let me complete. I am a sane person speaking sanely. Okay. I am a nationalist and I will not tolerate anybody heckling me. Neither I will be tolerating anybody speaking on my land that this is Chinese. This is there are the second point that I want to make in this point is that, of course, if there has been some funding from the Chinese government or the Chinese companies for any secession in part of India, this company NewsClick should be prosecuted and arrested, and due course of law should be taken. I don't support it altogether. But in this particular case, there should not be a should not be made a means to scapegoat the journalists which are working very nicely in this particular case. And
I think this DG Papa, whatever this group is, should sack this Prabir Purkayastha first or fold up as an organization. Yes, please.
Okay.
It's really shameful. Media organizations are having these Chinese people, Chinese funded people in media bodies in this country. Yes, Sanju.
Arnab, since you've made a reference on more than one occasion today in the last 26 minutes, and I'm sure you have good reasons for doing so. You've mentioned N. Ram. You know, like there's a joke that if you just mention the word Radia tapes, you know, you will be blocked by Veer Sanghavi. And in the case of N. Ram, you know, if you just ask him, does the sun rise in the east and set in the west? That is enough to provoke him. He will block you. And these are the people who say that they are the champions of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. You know, if hypocrisy had a name, N. Ram would be standing right up there at the front of the queue. But I want to tell N. Ram through your channel, or another channel, he said after Prabir Purkayastha was arrested, this is India's McCarthy movement. No, Mr. Purkayastha, getting arrested is not India's McCarthy moment, Mr. Ram. India's McCarthy moment came a couple of years back when prior to the Lok Sabha 2019 elections, a man called Christopher Wiley, who finally became a whistleblower, he said on the floor of the UK Parliament, on the floor of the House of Commons, that he was hired by the Congress party to illegally harvest 50 million Facebook subscribers data. 50 million matlab 5 crore logon ka data was illegally harvested, and Cambridge Analytica, where Christopher Wiley used to work, Cambridge Analytica was hired to do it. That was India's McCarthyist moment. And I will tell you, this year, India's McCarthyist moment was when in Jan 2023, the entire leftist cabal, from the likes of a Veer Sanghavi to Ajit Anjum to Rohini Singh to Swati Chaturvedi to blah, 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 you know, they're getting an oxygen actually by me mentioning their names on Arnab's show. These people, on the back of a ham-handed BBC documentary, which questioned the Supreme Court judgment which has already given in June 2022 an unconditional clean chit to Prime Minister Narendra Modi with respect to the Gujarat riots. Whom did they quote? This entire...
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Jack Straw. Jack Straw was the foreign secretary in 2002, and everybody knows he has zero credibility today. Whom did they quote? They quoted Arundhati Roy, who's well past her utility date. Whom did they quote? They quoted Akar Patel, whose Amnesty International has been found wanting by the FCRA for fraudulent practices. This is the reality of this cabal. They try to be Harish Chandra, but inki thodi si yadi aap khudai karenge,
I think
chor chor masere bhai.
But
chori se jaye era peri sena.
But I just want to know, I'll repeat one question, and Mr. Ram, my question is directly to you. Mr. Ram, would your newspaper or a newspaper you're associated with ever accept any funding from the Chinese Communist Party or agencies close to it to publish an advertorial supplement? I'm sure you wouldn't. But we would want to know, have you, do you, or would you? I'm sure the Hindu would never publish a paid supplement from the Chinese government in a direct or indirect way. But have you, would you, or do you?
Will you?
The nation wants to know. I'll take a 30-second secured commercial break and I'm back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll wait the answers to that question.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.